tutorials, Tasha's sewing challenges, and Tasha's granny square crochet challenge. And today I want to say welcome back to our Jeans to Purse Upcycle Sew Along. On today's episode of the Jeans to Purse Upcycle Sew Along, we will be inserting the zipper into the lining. Let's get started. Okay, I'm back, and today on the sew along we are going to insert the zipper. This is the zipper that I'm using to insert it. You can see that the zipper is actually a little bit longer than the purse, the liner of the purse, and I want it that way because when I insert it, I want to have this little tail hanging off so you can have something to grab onto to zip and unzip the zipper like this. You know how purses tend to have that. So this is what we're going to work with. This is the liner, and if you can remember the last time, what we did is, let me bring this over here. We subtracted the amount of the waistband from the actual liner so we can have the zipper recess in. Remember that? There it is right there. So the way we're going to make that recess in is we have to add this much back into the, what I want to call the zipper insert. I really don't know the technical name for this because I've never actually bought a pattern to do this or read anywhere to do this. I just figured it out on my own. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure this area and we're going to add that back into the lining. So our waistband was 1 1/8 inches wide. That's what we subtracted from here. I've already got my fabric cut to 1 1/2. Actually, I got it 1 3/4 inches wide because I need seam allowance. So that's what this is, and you need 2 of those. I cut those out already. It's right there, and these go here on the top of the liner like this. But this is not the only thing we need. We also need to consider the gusset that we're going to put inside the bag. So in order for the zipper to sit in there properly, we have to subtract the amount of the gusset. Now I'm going to put a 1-inch gusset into this, so I need to subtract 2 inches from the gusset for the zipper from the gusset, but I also need this to attach to the lining fully so we won't have any gaps. So how do we do that? I'm going to show you. What we do is we take another, we measure the actual liner, and our liner is actually 10 inches. If you can see that, let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing. I always go the wrong way for some reason. And if you can see that this is the beginning of it, of the liner, and that is the end of the liner, and we have a 10-inch liner right here, so we need to subtract 2 inches from this, and 2 inches would be 8 inches. So what we need to do is sew 8-inch extension onto the zipper tape, which we will then sew onto this part of the zipper extension that goes onto the liner. So what I'm going to do is get me a scrap piece of fabric that goes with this, and I'm going to fold it in half because I think this will be 8 inches right here. Actually it's 9 inches, so we're doing pretty good. So I'm going to fold this in half because I actually need 4 pieces, because I need a piece for the extension for this side and this side. That's 2 pieces, but I also need a piece for the extension on this side and this side. So 4 pieces is what I need. So I'm going to fold this in half lengthwise, and I'm going to fold it again widthwise. So I have 4 pieces here. Let me turn it this way so you guys can see it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I have 4 pieces here for the 4 parts that we need for our zipper extension. And I'm going to come over here, and I want a 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides. So 9 inches is actually pretty perfect, and I have 9 1/4 here. So I'm going to cut off where this fold is to turn that exactly 9 inches. And I actually have my rotary cutter today. I have a brand new rotary cutter because I am left-handed, and the rotary cutter that I had before actually is right here, and I never really used it too much because it was for a right-handed person and it actually rusted up on me. So I decided, instead of struggling with this, go find something else. So now I have this rotary cutter from Westcott. It's actually a titanium blade, so it should not rust even if I don't use it. And it's for a left-handed person or a right-handed person. So this is what I'm using. And if you would like to purchase this, there will be a link in the description box that you can purchase this for. And it's a lifesaver for us left-handed individuals like me, because it's really hard for me. Well, it's not really hard because I've been doing it all my life, but it's a lot easier for me to use tools that are suited for a left-handed person. So I cut that fold off right there, and then now I want my extension to be 1 inch. No, 1 inch. No, I want to do 1/2 inch. I want to do a 1/2 inch on this side. No, 1 inch. I want to do 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on this side, which means I'm going to need 1 inch plus another 1/2 inch with a seam allowance to this, and another, let's see, how much is that? Yeah, and another half inch for a seam allowance to sew onto here, but another 1/2 inch of a seam allowance to go on to the extension. So I need to make this 2 inches wide. So I'm going to cut it even right here, because it's not even right here. So I'm going to come down here and cut it, and cut the fabric even. Get that lined up. And I haven't used it in so long. I'm actually using my rotary cutter kind of like a piece of cutter, and I shouldn't be doing that. I need to be using it the correct way. So I took off this and made it even. Now I'm going to cut off this fold here to make it 2 inches wide, so I can have the exact what I need, and I'll have all 4 pieces intact. This is the way you actually are supposed to use this rotary cutter. And I actually suggest that you use a self-healing mat instead of this cardboard mat. But I'm using the cardboard mat because I pulled out my self-healing mat. So I've had it in storage for a while because I haven't been using my rotary cutter, and it was kind of warped, so I need a new one. So I'm not using that at the moment, but I will be purchasing a new one. Well, we have the pieces that we need. 1, 2, 3, and 4 right there. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go to our sewing machine, and we're going to, actually we can do this at the same time. We're going to, this end right here, we don't want that sticking out, so I'm going to actually pin it down like this, because I don't want that. We're going to actually take this end right here and pin it down like this, because, let me zoom in some so you guys can see what I'm doing. We're going to take this end and pin it under like this, because we don't want that end sticking out. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So when I sew, I'll be sewing these parts down. So once again, I'm taking this in and I'm folding it under, and I am pinning it down like this. And if you would like, you can go ahead and sew this, not on camera. If you would like, you can go ahead and sew this down and sew this side down so you can get rid of the pins, or you can leave it like this and sew it when you sew in the zip extensions. Now that I have the zip extensions done, what I'm going to do is take this to my sewing machine. This is where the teeth go. This is the wrong side of the fabric, and this is what I want to sew on. So I'm going to line, let me zoom in some so you guys can see what I'm doing. This is the wrong side of the fabric. This is the right side of the fabric. What I am doing is I'm taking the wrong side of the fabric. Remember, this is the right, this is the wrong. Taking the wrong side of the fabric, and I am going to line it up, this wrong edge with the edge that's not up against the teeth. The teeth are right here. This is not the teeth side, this is the teeth side. And I unzip, the zipper all the way down to the end to make it easier to work with. And I'm going to take the edge of the fabric and line it up with the, once again, the edge that is not with the teeth. And I'm going to line it up like this. This is where we have that little part pinned down. And I'm going to pin it down because if you are a beginner, you're going to want to pin this down. I'm going to pin it down. Now when I go to sew, remember the teeth are on this side right here. Teeth are on this side. So when I go to sew, I'm going to feel for the teeth with my zipper foot and come as close to the teeth as I possibly can, but not on top. So when I sew this down and then I fold it back over, my zip extensions are close to the teeth but not on top of the teeth. And you want to be like 1/8 of an inch away from the teeth because you don't want the fabric to interact with your zip. So if you're 1/8 of an inch away from the teeth, as you can see, you should be able to zip and unzip just fine. So make sure you're at least 1/8 of an inch away from the teeth. And you're going to sew on this side, sew as close to the teeth as you possibly can, about 1/8 of an inch away. And then we're going to fold it over like this and iron that down. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine. I'm going to go ahead and film this part because I think maybe you guys need to see this. And when I get to the sewing machine, I'll be right back. One moment. Okay, I'm back and I'm taking off my zigzag foot, which is what this is. And I am replacing this with my zipper foot. And your zipper foot may not look like this, but this is what mine looks like. And basically what I'm going to do is just put it down there and clip it on. It's that simple. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, like I was telling you before, this is the side with the teeth on it. We lined it up with the side without the teeth. Actually, it's not really lined up that well, so let me do it again. We're going to line it up with the part without the teeth on it. Pin that down. And this is kind of hard for me because I have to put one hand on one side of the machine and actually wrap the other arm all the way around the machine to get it on the camera properly. But I'm lining it up with the side that's not the teeth, and I'm going to get as close to the teeth as possible, possibly 1/8 of an inch away. That's what I'm shooting for, 1/8 of an inch away, because I don't want the fabric to get jammed up into the teeth. I'm going to move my needle over so it can go on the inside of this little hole right here and not on top of the zipper foot, because that would be very bad. And gonna lower the presser foot down, lower the needle, remove the pin, and I'm just gonna sew as usual. Now this sewing machine is not as loud as the other one. This is a newer sewing machine that I really like. It's still a Brother, but it's not as loud as my last Basic Brother. But from my experience working with this one, the Basic Brother has more horsepower than this one does. But anyway, I'm going to lower the machine. I'm going to start sewing forward a few stitches, and then sew backwards to lock in the stitches. And then I'm just going to guide it as close to the teeth as I possibly can, but I want to try to stay 1/8 of an inch away. And the width of my presser foot is actually a pretty good guide on this zipper, so it's working for me. And I'm just going to sew that on there like this. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew the rest of the zipper on, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. One more thing I need to tell you before I finish the zipper. We don't want to sew all the way to the end. What we want to do is, when we get to the end, we're going to fold this in. Actually, you could have folded that in when you pinned it down. Fold that in to enclose the raw edge, and then sew all the way down. So let me get that line back up. Lower my presser foot, and then sew all the way to the edge, and then back tack it. I think that's the proper name for that. And then I'm done, and you will see how the zipper is complete here. And when I fold it over to the right side, how the teeth are not, the fabric is not too close to the teeth. You can't really tell that well right now because it's not ironed down, but I'm going to try to finger press it a little bit. And you see the teeth are not encumbered by the fabric. And when I zip it, the zip works. And that's basically what we want. We want to make sure that our zip works. And now what I'm going to do is sew the other side. And I'm going to iron this down, iron this side down, and then I'll come back and show you how to attach the other side of this. Now you can see that I pressed the fabric, and it makes more sense, and you can see how the zip actually works without getting caught up in the fabric. So this is why you want to stay 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Okay, now that we've done this side, we need to do this side. And what I want to do actually is I'm going to fold that back out like this. And I'm going to turn it over. And the reason why I ironed that is so you can see what it looks like. You don't have to iron it at that step. Just want you to see. And I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to take this fabric. This is the right side. This is the wrong side. I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on the other side. I'm going to line up this fabric. Well, I'm going to fold down the edge to get the raw edges in. And I'm going to line up the fabric with that side without the teeth. The teeth are right here. So what you should have is the right side of the other fabric you sewed in, the teeth, and the other fabric the wrong side, and this teeth should be sandwiched in between. And what you're trying to do is you want to sew this side onto as well. Now you have two options here. You can either pin it in like this and then send it through your machine this way, or you could pin it on this side and stitch in the ditch on top of the stitches you already have there. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to line my fabric up and actually pin it out like that with the zipper sandwiched in the middle. And I'm going to do that, and I'll come back and I'm going to actually sew on top of the stitches that are already there, and I'll show you how to do that when I come back. Okay, I've actually already put the zipper underneath the zipper foot and lowered the needle, and I'm going to just, like I said, sew on top of these stitches that are already there. So, and that's called stitching in the ditch. And that's what I'm going to do. And that way I know that I am just as much space on both sides of the zipper extension. I have the same amount of space on the left side of the zipper extension as I do on the right side of the zipper extension. So that is that's how I'm going to do this. And I'm going to go ahead and finish it, and then I'll come back on the camera and you'll see the results of what that looks like. One moment. Okay, now I'm done. Alright, I'm done sewing on the zip extensions. I sewed on this side first. Let me zoom in some so you can see what it looks like. I sewed this side first, and then I sewed this side second. Now when you open it up, you can see, hold on, that the zip is actually sandwiched. Let me unzip it so you can see better. You can see that the zipper is sandwiched between the two layers. See that? It's one layer, it's the other side. And when you zip it up, it's not getting caught into the fabric or anything like that. See? So now all I have to do is I'm going to sew the inside, sew the zip extension on this side, and then we'll come back and we'll sew this to the top of the liner, and then tomorrow we'll actually come back and install the liner into the bag and do the gussets and the handles and things like that, because I thought I was going to go ahead and do that today, but it's going to just make the video extremely long. So we'll come back in a few minutes and we'll sew this to the top of the liner after I have both sides. Oh, before I do that, before we sew this to the top of the liner, we need to top stitch it to enclose all the raw edges. So you have this raw edge right here. You have this raw edge right here. You're going to bring them together like this. Going to bring them together like this, and you're going to top stitch it from here all the way over the top and to the side. And what that's going to do is enclose the raw edges on the ends, and it's also going to give a nice clean finish to the top. So when I come back, I'll have this side of the zipper tape sewed in with the zip extensions, and both of the zip extensions will be top stitched, and then we will sew the zipper into the lining. Okay guys, I kind of ran out of time for what we were doing today, so I'm gonna have to come back tomorrow, and then I will show you the completed zipper sewed into the zipper inserts, and then the zipper sewed into the lining. And then also tomorrow when we come back, I will be actually sewing the lining closed, and I will show how to make the purse handles. And then the next day we will insert the gussets into the liner and the gussets into the shell of the purse, and then we'll sew the purse together and we'll be complete. So until next time, happy sewing.